What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I am back again for the 2026-20 football season. I'm going to try to be doing college and pro this year, but mostly focusing on college. And if it becomes a little much, I'll drop the pro side off. But right now, I am going to go for kind of look through my predictions of what I think Michigan will do this season. Kind of see what the experts are saying, see what I'm saying, looking at some just kind of different aspects of the team this year. I know the offseason was big. I was looking at new job and I had some stuff going on, so I wasn't able to do this consistently. But I believe now that I've kind of settled down in my personal life, I believe I can get back to doing this. So yeah, start off by saying with the new coach, obviously it's going to be different. Uh, Coach Whittingham is a great thing for Michigan. I believe he's going to bring some stability. Uh, Moore was not the worst coach Michigan's had, but there was a lot of instability. Apparently within the program itself, there was a lot of stuff that came out with his uh, when his behaviors when he acted out. Essentially, his behaviors were kind of brought to light, and some things happened, and so that was truly unfortunate. But it's good to have a coach now that doesn't have those issues, at least not in that realm, and one who's really not so active on social media. That's almost kind of nice. I say that ironically as I do YouTube. Yes, the life we live. But anyways, um, so looking at it, I think it's good. He brought some really solid coaches with him, especially defensively. That coach, he's going to do good things. Hopefully, we obviously, we look and we see some of the how do you say it changes that were made were definitely positives, and some of the things that were adjusted were positives. But also he retained Tony Alford, which is a good thing. Tony Alford's a great running backs coach. He was previously at Ohio State, which is the not the irony once again not lost on me. But a good coach is a good coach no matter where he's coaching. So that was a good thing. Um, I think the biggest thing for Michigan we need to look for improvement wise is going to be Bryce Underwood. And obviously, I'll show you in a minute some of the comments from the experts who I may or may not always agree with, but once again, they're experts and I'm just a guy who's enjoying the sport. But they need Bryce Underwood needs to improve. And like I was saying, I said this many times last year is learn how to throw the ball, not just push, just learn how to learn how to throw the ball, not just, you know, toss it as hard as you can. That's not going to work. Learn how to be a more efficient passer with a little more touch, a little more finesse. He does that, and Michigan already gets an additional 1 to 2 wins. Maybe not against some of the elite ones like Ohio State, but still, Michigan could be better. And if he takes a little bit of a Lamar Jackson esque approach to it, maybe some more running in a less painful way, as in he doesn't take the hits. So that's something that he could definitely learn from and get better at. So those are just some brief thoughts I have in terms of like coaching staff and you know big things that mm, Michigan's gonna need to do. So I know that there's been some shakeup in the lineups, and that's a good thing. I know that Michigan's running back group is going to be especially strong this year. Its last couple years have been relatively really good. I remember when we had Hassan Haskins followed by Blake Corum, Jordan Marshall. Like these are dudes. And Savion Hyder, I believe his name is, that 5-star that came in out of high school, excellent running back. He's showing flashes. So Michigan has dudes. We just need to make sure we're utilizing them correctly. On the defensive side of the ball, I know on the defensive line, we got what is it? Ito Etta, I believe his name is. Eno Etta. He's still around. That's a good thing. And then we got that one, John Daly, I believe his name is, transferred from Utah. There's been some talk about tampering with that, and I'm not buying it, but once again, that's for people at the decision, NCAA to decide. But he's a reliable defensive end. I think he's going to do good things. So Michigan has a lot of good areas of strength. We have a talented quarterback, good running backs. I am concerned about linebackers because I don't know that we have any standouts in that range, and we typically do have at least one. So maybe there's some movement from the line, like defensive end to linebacker, and that's going to be something that's going to really um, take some time to kind of flesh out. But as I'm about to go, we have some game as I'm about to go through. Sorry, we have some gains where we can kind of work through that. So I'm going to start out with my predictions, and we'll see what the uh, kind of the professional pundits are saying. So right here, obviously, if you can see on the screen, I have Western Michigan. That's their first game. Michigan should blow the doors off of them. I know you'd think we would learn from Appalachian State, but I have not. So I'm going to say that Michigan just blows the doors off of Western Michigan. Not to say Western Michigan's a terrible team, because you never know. But I think that they will definitely use that as a kind of a, break in some new little things like defensively, offensively, kind of see where they're at. So, and they'll be able to play some players at off positions, like linebacker and everything to kind of get them some literal game time experience. Of course, and then we walk right into Oklahoma, Michigan. I think that I'm giving Michigan the edge on this, just like I gave Oklahoma the edge last year when they played Michigan. Um, that home field advantage is going to be big, and I think Michigan has some experience under the belt. Uh, Oklahoma does have a really good quarterback, Mateer. I believe his name is John Mateer or Mateen. Really good, solid quarterback. But they don't have. I don't know that they have the depth to keep up with Michigan, especially at the big house where it's going to be rocking. That place is going to be loud. So I have Michigan winning that. But I also would not be overly surprised if Oklahoma manages to pull it out. They have beaten Big Ten teams at home before. If you've been around long enough, you remember Baker Mayfield with Oklahoma beating Ohio State in the horseshoe. So it's not unheard of for this to happen. UTEP, Michigan, and UTEP. I believe Michigan's just gonna once again rock 'em, sock 'em robots. You know, just getting some depth in there, some players, some playing time. Uh, one UTEP is a respectable team, but not that, not Big Ten respectable. But you know, once again, not disrespecting them at all. If they could come up, they could put up a fight. They've had some decent teams in the past, so no disrespect to them. But Michigan should blow the doors off of them as well. So then you come up to Iowa, Michigan. Um, Iowa is that could be a very much a trap game. I think that Michigan should beat them. It could be very much like a grind. I can see this being, just two teams just running right at each other. But Michigan's run game um, should provide the edge on this. That's not to say that I was, can't pull this out because they absolutely could. So it's we shall see what happens. Um, Michigan at Minnesota. I've seen some people saying this is a trap game and it's sneaky. No, I don't believe it for an instant. I think Michigan is just outright better than Minnesota. PJ Fleck is a respectable coach, but that does not always translate to his team, unfortunately. Um, and then Penn State comes to Michigan. That's if this was being played in Happy Valley, I would give the edge to Penn State because they play really well at home and they are a solid team. But they have a new coach, and while this will be, 5, 6 games into the season, depends on when Penn State's bye week is. I don't know that they can beat Michigan in the big house as with all those factors involved. I don't know that Penn State has that talent. So it's one game that if in years past, I might have given Penn State a bigger chance of winning, but I still think Michigan pulls this one out. It's probably a close game, and Penn State is a very good school in terms of obviously college football, but I'm not giving them the win on this one. Um, Then moving on to Indiana, Michigan. I think this is where, you got 6 games here where outside of Rutgers, Michigan's gonna be tested. This is where the really, really brutal part of this schedule starts. I think Indiana's gonna beat Michigan. I don't think they're gonna be as good as last year, but Curtis Ignetti is probably, by most estimations, a better coach than Coach Whittingham. I love Coach Whittingham, but what Cignetti did with Indiana last year was incredible. And I think that he's going to have while he's lost some pieces, I think he's going to plug and play and he's going to keep not all that success because I don't think Indiana is going all the way again this year. I just don't see it. But I think that it's reasonable to assume that Indiana is going to be a very good team this year. So I think they're going to beat Michigan. So, unfortunately, that's just reality as it is. Um, Michigan Rutgers, I think Michigan will, if they do lose to Indiana, I think they go to Rutgers and just absolutely annihilate them. I think they're going to be pissed. They're going to be they're going to be ready to take revenge. And I think it's going to be ugly. And I think they're going to pretty much smoke out Rutgers pretty badly. Michigan State, I think Michigan wins this one. I respect Pat Fitzgerald. I think he was a good hire. I think Michigan State has um, some potential, but I don't think Aiden Childs is really that good. I just don't. It's not like he's an awful quarterback. He's perfectly fine for the college level, but I don't think he's a good quarterback. I really don't. I don't think yeah, I don't see him doing anything. So, I mean, he's going to have, they're not an awful team, but I think Michigan gets the rivalry win. But that's not to say Michigan State will make it easy. There's a rivalry game and they still play hard. So respect to them for that. But no, Michigan wins. Michigan goes to Oregon. That's an away game. I think that's a lot to overcome. And Oregon is by all means, you know, should still be, I would imagine at this time, probably a top 10 team at this point in the season. Yeah. Assuming they haven't, oh, gotten any crazy upsets. So I think Oregon is going to beat Michigan at Oregon. I don't think it's a matter of talent. I think it's a matter of home field advantage, and they're going to be worn down and all that other stuff. You never know injuries and all that. But I think outside of a small miracle, I think, um, yeah, Oregon beats Michigan at Oregon. All right, Michigan UCLA goes to Michigan. I think Michigan, by all stretch of imagination, should beat UCLA. Uh, they're a respectable team, but they are not USC or any of the other West Coast teams. They're not at that level. So you know, last year they had a weird season. They lost some. They fired their coach, and then they won a bunch of games. Kind of crazy, but I don't think they're able to retain that magic into this year. So I see UCLA pretty much losing to Michigan convincingly. Maybe close a little towards the beginning, but I think Michigan pulls it out. And then we come to Michigan, Ohio State. So Michigan's playing at Ohio State this year, which inherently I think is a disadvantage by all stretch. Every stretch of the imagination. I Ohio State was salty last year, and they did win, 27-9, I believe the final score was. I think Michigan will be better offensively this year, so I think the game will be much closer. But I think that home field advantage is very real. Just like if the Ohio State played in Michigan, I think that'd be the exact same thing. So I think Michigan loses to Ohio State this year. Granted, my prediction may change, but Ohio State does have a ton of talent. They have the best wide receiver in the country. Jeremiah Smith is absolutely the best wide receiver right now. So I think by all means, I think Ohio State has a very solid chance of just straight up winning the whole thing next year. If, things the dice, fall where they may. But I think Ohio State's an excellent team. They've got most of the pieces in place to be, a college football playoff bound team by all stretch. So by all stretches of the imagination, that is definitely, unfortunately, I think Michigan could drop that one to Ohio State. Now, do I hope I'm wrong? Of course, but you know that's what it is. So now we're going to go on to what the forecast is for from the professionals, so quote unquote. They kind of agree with me. I believe I had, um, what did I have? I had them Michigan possibly losing to Oklahoma, so that'd have been one. I had them possibly losing to Indiana, Oregon, and then Ohio State. So that'd be what, 8-4, 4, 8. Yeah, that'd be 8-4. So that is kind of what they're saying. They think that Michigan has the possibility of going higher. Um, it's it's possible. It really is. Um, you'll see that the market expects Michigan to land right around 8 to 9 wins, with analysts split depending on how much improvement they expect from Bryce Underwood and the revamped coaching staff. I agree with this. I really think that is absolutely true. However, I think, Michigan's defense is what's gonna carry them through many games, and their offense should be fine, especially the running game, but I think their defense is really just gonna have to step up. Um, it says, "Why do predictions cluster around 9 wins?" Like I said, the brutal schedule towards the end of the season, especially, is gonna be the deciding factor. Um, and I think they are correct. Oregon and Ohio State likely losses, with Indiana, Oklahoma as toss-ups, and I don't. I think Oklahoma's a win and Indiana's a loss because really good. Um, they said the coaching staff and high return production. Coach Whittingham brings a proven system and several Utah contributors, which he does. So there is that. And Michigan returns 63% of its production. So that's a plus. That is huge. That will make a difference for sure. And of course, Underwood's development, and some projections are placing him above 3,500 total yards. I actually think that could be north of 4,000. But once again, that's just optimism at its finest for the quarterback of the team I love. So, game by day game predictions. We'll start with kind of where I said and what they said, which some of them are the same, but some of the differences you might be surprised. Western Michigan wins, solid but manageable opener. Yes, absolutely. Oklahoma toss up, slight Michigan lean. I think that's a Michigan lean because of the home field. It could be a close win, but I think the home field is a big thing. Uh, UTEP, terrible team, comfortable blowout expected. Yes. Don't get complacent, but yes. Iowa, Michigan favorite at home, like I said, but Iowa's defense is solid. Let's not, overlook that. This is where one of those big differences. They said Minnesota a close win. I think Michigan just dog walks Minnesota. That's my prediction for that one. Penn State toss up. I understand why they say it's a toss up, but it's at Michigan. And while I respect Penn State and the teams they brought in the past, I think they're just not. This is the new coach's, I believe, his new coach's first year. So I think Michigan puts it on them towards the end, late in the game. I think Michigan really puts it away. And once again, they said Indiana lost toss up. Nope. I think Indiana wins. I think they're just a better team right now. That's just reality. So USC, I didn't know that they played the USC this year. Did I miss something? Or was this last year's schedule? Nope. Did I miss something? Maybe I missed something. I don't know. That's weird. If they do play USC, maybe this schedule thing is messed up, but USC, I think if they're playing at Michigan, I think Michigan absolutely wins that. Yeah, USC is rebuilding, And I saw a fun thing about Coach Whittingham. He is I don't know that he's like 3-0 against Lincoln Riley whenever they play, which is good, unexpected. Never did not know that stat before today. So good for them. Um, I don't know that they play Iowa, Illinois, or Northwestern this year, but they would count as wins, and I can see why. Um, Playing against Oregon and Ohio State, likely losses for both, as I explained, and that's here a road game. Just two back-to-back road games against two monster teams. Um, I just, yeah, I don't know that Michigan has what it takes to beat both of those teams on the road. It would be an upset either way, and you hope that they win, but think that I don't think they're going to do it this year. So it's unfortunate. I love Michigan, but there's just some realities you have to face. What I'm realizing is now is that this is telling me uh, against all Big Ten teams, yeah, smooth move on my part. But I don't know that Michigan plays USC this year. But either way, I think the ideas are all the same. Where you know the idea is the same regardless. Bottom line, well, projected record range 8-4, 9-3, and I think that's accurate. I hope 9-3, but 8-4 is not something that um would surprise me either. Michigan's 2026 season hinges on Underwood getting better, Whittingham's defensive identity, surviving a schedule with the opponents that they have. I agree with that. Um, Winning at least two of the toss-up games, that's absolutely correct as well. Um, and of course, it just asks you what you can generate. But most of the time, when I'm looking at these schedules, I'm looking at all that. I'm seeing, okay, what what is the key factors here? And it did cover that a second ago. But defensively, Michigan has to step up. Rod Moore came back, I believe, what, fifth year now, the safety. Tons of experience, but I don't know that he's a full he can't be the whole team. He has to be the leader of the team. He has to bring that depth, that balance, that leadership, all that stuff. But he's gonna have to do it with guys who some of them are new. So, you know what? Just because I can, I'm gonna look up. Normally I have this stuff prepared when I make a video, but let's see what the depth chart is for the Wolverines. So, yeah, we all get to look at things together here. Um, he runs, so it does say Coach Whittingham runs a spread option, and then on offense, and then a 4-2-5 base defense. So here's some interesting kind of lineups. What do we? I wouldn't say. I wouldn't say these are necessarily lineup battles because I think Bryce Underwood is the clear starter, but there's some, to say the least. So you have Bryce Underwood, obviously starter. Braden Fowler Nicolosi, he came from Colorado State. I remember him last year. Tommy Card's a freshman. Chase Herbstreit, which, if that name looks familiar, that's Kirk Herbstreit's son, I believe. And then Brady Smigiel, I apologize. I 1000% butchered that name. And then running back, you have Jordan Marshall, Savion Hyder, Bryson Kudzal, came back from last year. Micah Capana, looks like a Hawaiian name, possibly. And then a freshman, Jonathan Brown. Those are those two groups right there, solid. That's, we're gonna make money. We should be making money off of those. Those are feed families right there. Wide receiver, you got Andrew Marsh. He's come back. He was a big one last year. You have the redshirt freshman transfer from Texas, Jamie French. Goodness, some of these names. And you got a bunch some depth behind them, but the problem is you got a lot of sophomores, a lot of freshmen with like you have a junior here, but that's not the standard, unfortunately. Um, you do have a graduate transfer, CJ Charleston, in the slot, but you do have some talent there for sure. JJ Buchanan, Shannon Goodwin. So there's talent there. Um, Tight end, we also have some talent. This is probably in terms of experience, some of the deepest, one of the deeper groups. You have a couple juniors, sophomore, only one freshman. So Zach Marshall's good, should be solid. Hogan Hansen, he was good last year. So yeah, we got we got some depth there, but we just got to get them in games and seeing where they're at. Our offensive line, these are sophomore, redshirt freshmen. You know, here, redshirt soft. Like there's talent here, and they just need to work together really well from like literally like basically game one. That's where it's gonna show. They're gonna need to gel, glue together and get to know because these are the guys that are gonna win the game for Michigan if Bryce Underwood's ever gonna be any good. So, defensively, we got some depth here or and talent, depth, a little bit of both there. Um, Left defensive end, you got Cameron Brandt, Dominic Nichols, lefty tackle, Pierce and Papale. Right defensive tackle, here's where some, talents right there. You got Eno Eta, that's one I was talking about earlier. And then you got Jonah Lelea. John Henry Daly is the right defensive end. He's the one who just transferred from Utah with Coach Winningham. He's very talented, very good. So we have some solid stuff there. Uh, Linebacker, this Nathaniel Owusu-Boateng, there's talent, but it's not necessarily the most proven talent. And that's we just got to be careful that teams don't take advantage of that. Chase Taylor, he's solid. Troy Bowles is all right. He's a transfer, I believe. I don't remember where he transferred from, but so there's some experience there, but I'm not sold on a linebacking core right now. Cornerback, we have some talent there. Zeke Berry was here last year. Shamari Earls, Jair Hill, Josiah Edmond. Like there's talent here. There's talent here. Safety, Chris Bracy, Mason Curtis. Bracy was a transfer in, so he's got some. He's a redshirt junior, so he's got a couple of years at least of experience. So he's there. I think they're okay for safety. Um, Safe and a free safety. I had Rodmore and Jordan Young. So there's talent there. There's experience. So we should be okay there. Nickel, I think a senior transfer and a freshman. I think Snowden's going to have to really get Jamari Vincent really up to speed and show him the tips and tricks because senior transfer is about as what was it 4 or 5 years in, so you've been on the field a bunch, so you already know. So oh, sorry. Special teams, fine, great. It'd be nice to get somebody a little electric on special teams. Touchdown every couple so often. Special teams you know, really can make a big difference in the end. So that's Michigan's depth chart right now. That's just 1 and 2 spots for all the positions. I'm sure there's more depth. I could go. I'm sure there's deeper, but um, I think as a fan, I'm really looking for big improvements from Underwood because Braden Founder close. He's a senior transfer. He has experience, so I know if Underwood goes down, it's not the end of the world. But we need Underwood to excel. We just do if we're going to win games. That's just the reality of it. Jordan Marshall, Savion Hyder, uh, Kudzal is a reliable backup, but he's not electric. He's just not, and that's what it is. Jordan Marshall is though, and Savion Hyder is going to light things up hopefully in the future. So Michigan has some those two areas right there are going to be lead into the success of like take the weight off of the receivers to be these big, flashy plays. So it's not that there isn't talent there because there is, but a solid run game leads to a better passing game by nature of how the game is played. So, and just defensively, there's obviously we're going to need a lot of stepping up from the various, especially the linebacker core, like I said. So it's going to be a lot of interesting. Uh, yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how this season plays out. So, but yeah, that is my kind of take on all this. I really do think that Michigan has the potential to do some really good things, but it all is contingent on players on an offensive line, gelling, really sticking together. Bryce Underwood, taking a big step forward in terms of yards, the whole not, the whole shebang. Um, and then of course running game solid, which will help, you know, take the heat off the wide receivers until they're really, get used to Underwood's whole development. So I think it's interesting, going to be interesting season. Like I said, I think I agree to the pundits and kind of sort of in terms of the win total, but I think that I'm a little bit more cut and dried on what I think will be wins and what I think will be losses. I don't have the optimism some of them do, and I'm a little more optimistic than others. So, but yes, that is my kind of call for the year. Thank you for watching. I appreciate each and every one of you. I will try to be a little more consistent during the season. And yeah, thank you for everything. I hope everybody's having a great week, and I'm looking forward to football starting again, just like everybody else. In the meantime, have a good one. Take care. Peace.